Hi everyone, it's Mrs. Summer here to talk about Lesson 502, Introduction to Gases. The goals are to explain the kinetic molecular theory, discuss the variables of gas equations. So what exactly are gases? Gas is a state of matter with specific properties that are different from a liquid or solid. So if we look over here, the molecules that make up a gas fly in all directions at great speeds. They are so far apart that the attraction forces between them are insignificant. What is kinetic molecular theory? The property of gases can be described by the kinetic molecular theory. Gas particles do not attract or repel each other. So that's one part of the theory. 2, gas particles are smaller than the space between them, which means almost all, that's not a color I wanted to use, all of the volume of a gas is empty space. Gas particles, atoms or molecules, are in constant motion. And no kinetic energy is lost when the particles collide. If you remember from physical science, if you took that, or 8th grade, kinetic energy is the energy of motion. It's when something is moving. So no energy from moving is lost when they collide. And all gases have the same average kinetic energy at a given temperature. So there are 3 major variables that determine a gas's behavior: temperature, pressure, and volume. I'd also like to add that the number of moles of the gas can also impact the gas's behavior. If you recall from Unit 3, I believe, when we talked about rates of reactions, temperature is a measure of the average kinetic energy of gas particles. So the higher the temperature is, the higher the kinetic energy. So the particles are moving faster. So if it's colder, your particles are moving slower. So units for temperature are degrees Celsius, degrees Fahrenheit, and Kelvin. So Kelvin is a temperature. There is no degree sign when we talk about Kelvin. So how do we convert from Celsius to Kelvin? So if we take our equation, if we're given it into in Celsius degrees, we take our degrees Celsius and add 273 to it. So example, the temperature inside is 25 degrees Celsius. What is the temperature in Kelvin? So we take that 25 plus 273 equals 298 K. So remember, don't use the degree sign in your Kelvin answer. So if we look over here, water boils at 100 degrees Celsius. So it boils at 373 Kelvin. And the reason we use Kelvin is that we don't have to introduce negative numbers. Because when you get to 0K, which has never actually been achieved before, 0K in theory is when all atoms stop moving. They've gotten pretty close, but they've never reached absolute zero. So they're trying to get to absolute zero to see what happens when atoms completely stop moving. So on the Celsius scale, it would be negative 273 degrees Celsius. So now you try. The temperature outside today is 13 degrees Celsius. What is the temperature in Kelvin? We add 13 to 273 to get 286 K. So just because we don't use a degree sign doesn't mean you can leave the unit off. You write 286 K as your answer with a unit. Pressure. Pressure is defined as the force exerted on a given area. The collisions of gas particles create pressure. So pressure on the side walls of the container. So the units we use pascals, ATM, millimeters of mercury. There's several different ones, but in this class, we are going to use ATMs just to simplify things. With the absence of the gas, the pressure will no longer be there. So in that container, there would be no pressure in that container if there was no gas in it. Volume is the amount of space a gas takes up. And we're going to use the units liters, milliliters, microliters, all different types of units that we will that you can use. But to simplify things, we're going to use liters. The next few lessons, we're going to be talking about the relationship between temperature, volume, and pressure of gases, as well as the relationship between the number of moles of gas.